Well, hey there, YouTube. It's PD Two Finger, and today I finished working on this box, which I should call it the Pink Floyd Echoes box. I had built this thing a few years ago, and I didn't take the build as seriously as I should have, and I named it the Dave Gilmour Seagull box. Now, this device, it attempts to replicate the effects that are heard in the Pink Floyd album Metal, specifically the song Echoes. So there is a reverse crybaby, as seen here. There is an echo module. There is a white noise generator, which you can't see in the frame right now. And you can control the seagull sound effect, and you can control the wind sound effect, and it goes through a delay and an amplifier. Along the way, we have stuff like this pickup is here because in order to make the circuit properly oscillate, you need to have a single coil Stratocaster pickup in place. And like the 250K pot volume and tone pots help out to make this happen. They discovered it by accidentally plugging in the wah-wah pedal backwards and realizing it creates these funny sounding oscillations which almost sound like a laughing synthesizer sound or seagull sound, some people say. Pink Floyd always used it with an echo. So I included the PT2399 echo, which was from a place called Delyk PCB, Delyk. Just a couple of dollars for this circuit board, and then I stuffed the parts in it. Like the echo chip is a PT2399. It's a 50-cent part. So this was a really cheap build to build this echo, and the echo sounds excellent. It self-oscillates, which is fun. So I couldn't be happier with the echo circuit. There's a stereo amp here. Here's an amp for the power horn, and then here is a splitter. I actively split the sound rather than passively splitting it because I was taking a mono signal, and it's weird. It's like there's two sound generators that go to a mixer that has a mono output, and I built the mixer. It's an AMZ mini mixer, and that mono output out of the mixer goes to this splitter, which, I guess I'll give you the grand tour here. Here is the white noise generator. This has a 2N3904, and then there is a TLO72, which it was noisy as heck, and I replaced it with this, and it quieted up a lot. I still ended up chopping the power line for this and cutting in a separate battery pack, because when I isolated that circuit on its own battery power, it quieted it up a lot more because it was just noisy. So here's the mixer, I believe. Yeah, it's called an AMZ mini mixer. It's a 2-channel mixer, and it's supposed to use a TLO72. I use an NE5532. These are a little better sounding op amps. They're lower noise, and they do consume a little current current. You can see I ran a nut. There's another nut underneath there that you can't see, and then this white stuff is double-sided tape. Here's the main power switch. It's like 12 volts goes through here and then comes out. There's a fuse also, and then there's another 8.5 volt pack, and that's this yellow wire going to that yellow wire to power the wind generator circuit, because like I said, I had to isolate that. Feedback, mix, and delay controls for the echo unit. These are the 250K pots ripped out of a cheap guitar that go in between the crybaby and that single coil pickup. These two are they're different. Should have had the same pots really. These are because they're for 2 channels on the mixer. Would have been nice to have the same thing. Now, I found that connecting a ground in between the 2 pots altered the pitch. I forget what the wiring was on it. It was some goofy wire. I think it was just a chassis ground to the 3rd pin of the tone pot. made it made it shift its oscillation on the crybaby sound. So I wired that to a toggle and then wired the toggle to a momentary. So I can stutter it. I can stutter that effect by hitting this manually, or I can just turn it on and it will drop about a fifth in pitch. And here's the main LED. I used a pink LED. I also have pink knobs because of the Pink Floyd connection. A lot of fans will tell you that their favorite Pink Floyd album is Dark Side of the Moon, but there's an album called Metal, which was really where they hit that formula, is what you hear on Dark Side of the Moon. So a lot of the fans that are old timers or have really listened to the whole catalog will tell you that their favorite Pink Floyd album is Metal, specifically for that one track, Echoes. And that's what this box duplicates the extra sound effects that are heard in that song. So this here is a passive JFET splitter. There's 3 JFETs, J201s. It's a real simple circuit, almost like 3 buffers. And it takes one mono signal and splits it into 3. So 2 channels go to the stereo amp to feed the stereo speakers, and then there's a 3rd channel which goes to this amp, which is like it's like a little 30-watt amp. I think it's more, in this configuration, it's running more like about 10 watts or 8 watts. And that goes to that car alarm horn siren that you can turn that on or off. And it adds a whole dimension running that. It adds more high-end and more upper mid-range sound. And it also makes the unit project quite a bit more. Here's the delay from Delic PCB. You can see the Delic logo. PT2399. I'm running an E5532 as in place of the TLO72. This green wire cracked off here, and I had to resolder that on there. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump hot glue all in here around these connections, so when I'm opening and closing the board, it won't fatigue, stress those, and crack them when I'm at a remote. Because it would never, something like that would never break when I'm at home with access to a soldering iron. But if I'm out somewhere in the middle of a park with this thing trying to film it, you know that's when it's going to break down. So, oh, here's a strip of arrow, and what I like to do is like I run the minus wire from this battery pack, which is 12 volts, and I do fuse it because this is pretty powerful batteries. These will explode. They're 18650 lithium ion. This is what's in a Tesla. So this minus wire here, I did snip it at one point and rework it because it was kind of messy under here. So I cleaned that up and it's been cut and used some shrink boot here. But I run the minus wire here, and then the plus end goes through a fuse, goes to a switch, and comes back off of the other side of that switch and comes in here. So then every one of the circuits that needed power in this build, I would just tie it in here, put the black one on this row and the red one in that row, and they could all share a 12-volt rail. I did have that one circuit which was being noisy, so I gave that its own power supply. That's how we figured that one out. That's how I fixed it. You know, could I have done some filtering? Could I have put in a voltage regulator or some other way of doing it which is more complicated? Yeah, I could. And you know what? If that's what you think is fun, we'd have to arm wrestle because I disagree with you. The easiest way for me, because I have a huge collection of 18650 batteries, is just run another battery pack and be done with it. You know, I'm not here to fiddle and put a snubber cap between the base to the emitter to the ground or something. No. Add another battery cap and pack, and maybe you'll get to bed before 3 a.m. So yeah, these speakers were like cockeyed. The first one I put in here, you could barely hear it. And put another one in, it was a little louder, but this one was always loud. So we had 3 different speakers in here before we got a matched pair. And I didn't even think about that, but for some reason it was goofy and it was like cockeyed. It was really bothering me. This is some kind of a wooden box. I had this up here because the cable is short. These cables are long runs, but I had one that was a little shorter, and I had cut it down last night. I was like, you asshole, should have made it 3 inches longer. And that's why this is crooked here. I had this, originally I had it up in here, and when I went to close this thing, the speaker pushed up and the whole lid separated on the top. I broke it. So I had to put glue in there and then clamp it to repair that today. But yeah, I know it looks messy, but it's not. If anything broke on this, I could fix it within seconds. This is not a big deal to me. The wiring on here is pretty simple. And these white spots, they are masking tape, and I use hot glue on the back side to just hold the wire in, and that way it won't stress on one of the points where it's soldered. It'll stress in between where it's just wire, and hopefully that would eliminate breakage. But things like, coming right off the amp board, going right to the speaker terminals, I use real thick ass wire for that. So, and I really should only be opening and closing this thing to show a couple of my friends, show these assholes what's in it so they could get an idea. Like, this isn't something you make in an hour. Thinking this up takes some time. Gathering the parts takes some time. And then building the boards, each one of the boards takes one night, basically, if you're building this stuff. And then putting it all together will take a whole day and a whole night. All this wiring, you kind of temp everything in, and then when you go to install it, you'll have to change things, so you have to redo a lot of the connections, unless you're really like almost psychic. Or, you make everything perfectly exactly long as you need to be, or you just get really good at this shit. And I'm not saying I'm really good at it, but this thing's a lot better than the first version that I made. A lot. Oh, we've got some light there. How do you like that? I got this laptop. It's really slow. I got these little speakers I got at Goodwill that I glued onto this board that hold the laptop up on this like little lifter thing. And I get to watch YouTube in the kitchen now when I work, which the computer is really slow. But it'll play YouTube, and I just can't believe the amount of ads. I don't know if there's something wrong with this laptop, why I'm getting ads in the middle of all the YouTube videos now. I used to not get that as much, but it seems like I'm spending more time trying to find the mouse and shutting these ads off. If I hear pizzicato strings one more time. Anyway, here's the wind generator, here's the mixer, here's the switch for the power amp that powers the power horn. Here's the main power switch, 2 speakers. These are the controls for the seagull laughing. This is the delay time, mix, and feedback control. These 2 control the wind machine. One is volume, one is pitch for the wind. This is the volume for the seagull down here. This is the volume for the wind over here. And there's a master volume for the power horn. And so you can blend that in or out, which is really cool. And then the delay self-oscillates. So if you turn the feedback all the way up on the delay, you can get a whole nother thing going on with that. And these switches can alter the pitch of the seagull thing, so you can do some tricks with that too. So this would be an auxiliary device. I would use it for getting those effects if I was making music with a live band scene. You could mic it. Also for noise ensemble, if you're just going to be connecting a bunch of different boxes like this, not connecting, like you're going to set them up outside on a table and have them making noise and film that. That's the idea. I would, and this is a secondary. Like, this isn't the star of the show. I have something called the Newt Case Souk, which is a lot more than this, and it does an incredible amount of things that it'll do. As opposed to this is kind of simple, but this is a nice addition. It's a nice looking project. It was a lot of fun, and thank you guys for doing this walkthrough video with me. I'll be here with some demos and talking more about it, so stay tuned. And I'm also going to be doing some work on the Newt Case Souk, which is that other thing that I was telling you, which is a little bit more complicated, and improving that. So you can look for more of this content as we go on. And peace.